Hello and welcome to the Captain on the Bridge podcast presented by Hyperion Team Third. I'm Dave and I'll be your host this week. I'm joined today by my lovely co-hosts, P3achsalt and Marty. Would you like to say a hello, P3achsalt?
Hello.
And Marty, how are you doing today?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having us.
So thanks for letting me host. Today's auspicious topic for the auspicious number, episode 8, is Lee Sushang's birthday. Unfortunately, I do think we're going to be a little bit late with publishing this one. So happy belated birthday, Sushang. But
don't worry, it's like it's April 3rd somewhere in the universe. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna be honest. Like my lore knowledge is not that deep, especially when it comes to kind of like the non-main characters of Honkai Impact Third, right? Don't get me wrong though, I am a huge fan of Lee Sushang. But Marty here is an expert in Lee Sushang and Lee Sushang accessories.
Well, you're probably the most knowledgeable person here.
Yeah, I think you've got the actual research down. So I'm gonna be asking you a bunch of questions now.
Sure.
But I guess first things first. Why don't we talk about what impressions we have of Sushang? P3achsalt, do you want to, or Momo, do you want to go first and tell us what do you like about Sushang? What were your impressions of her?
Oh, well, there's just a lot of characters in this cast, and I did come in around like, a good year before Sushang came out, and just like, Sushang's first appearance in the Book of Apocalypse was like, I don't know, it was like so cool to me at the time, and I was just like, oh my god, where did this character come from? And then, after doing some research, talking with Marty, basically, like, he was just like, oh yeah, she comes with like the visual novels, and I was just like, wait, there's another visual novel that I haven't read? Because I think around that time I had read a visual novel and most of Duduvian, and I was just like, wait, there's a third one? And then he was just like, yeah. So, I ended up doing some research on the character just a little bit, together with Mart, and I don't know, I think she's such like a cool character. Sure, she doesn't get like too much spotlight in comparison to others, but like, I don't know, like, her design slaps. I'd like to see more of her in the story. Her relationship with like other characters, and like, she just has like this really like nice like bridge, and also she's also connected to like Fuhua's past and everything too, which is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I have a really like strong impression of her. But Marty, I want to hear what your thoughts are on Sushang.
I was like most people in the Western fandom when like the Thus Spoke Apocalypse arc trailer came out, and Fu was like fighting someone. We were like, who the heck is this? And then she's just like, oh, nice to see you again, Phoenix. And it's like, who are you? and I had not heard of that visual novel at the time. I think a lot of people hadn't really talked about it because it was unfinished.
It's the untranslated one, right?
Yeah, the Shenzhou saga of the Shattered Swords.
Right.
Or people call it Seven Swords visual novel, or the Fuhua visual novel.
Yeah.
We got like 2 chapters in, and then was teasing a third one, and then like that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Dang.
And so I don't think people prioritized it at the time, but they really wanted to bring Sushang into the story. And so after all of that, I was really interested to know more about like the character, and they've done a good job, I think, of at least trying to make her a part of the whole Honkai family.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I just think she's like, she's really cute. She has a really distinctive design in the whole cast as one of the 2/3 Chinese playable characters in the game.
Hey, they're Shenzhonese, okay?
Yeah. I like her like hair silhouette. I don't know. It's very different from everybody else, and you definitely know when it's Sushang from a distance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dude,
yeah.
so long.
Yeah, that's like one of the most like unique things about her, right? Her twin tails actually like go to the ground pretty much.
Yeah, they're actually like if you look at the 3D model, one of the longest haircuts like in the entire game. It's like up there with Hersher of Thunder, which is like huge, and like Dreamseeker, who also is huge. You just don't really notice it as much because like she's got it all up in like braids and buns and stuff. But yeah, Sushang's got a lot of hair.
Yeah.
I don't know, not even just that. I feel like her, like, because her hair is so long, it just feels like a part of like the design. Like not really like I don't know, it feels like part of the clothes, so you don't really like kind of realize how long it is until you
was
like,
gonna
look
say
at the
that
back.
too.
Yeah, it doesn't interfere with like her clothing silhouette, which is it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. So I'm gonna tell you my impression of Sushang with a huge tangent. So so for whatever
Science,
reason,
take the stage.
I grew up playing a lot of video games where I like JRPGs where or at least a very defining JRPG in my lifetime is Final Fantasy VI. And it's very appropriate because like the day of recording this episode, it's the 30th anniversary of that video game.
Oh, really?
And
that's cool.
Yeah, and so like that game introduced two, in my opinion, very like strong female characters, Terra and Celes. And I guess like as a kid, it left a really big impression on me that like there could be these character archetypes that represent like I don't know, like a woman who kind of like has to discover herself through like a journey, right? So that like archetype really stuck with me. And so as I got older, I played another game called Soul Calibur. And it's a fighting game, right? And in the story, it like fighting game stories are never like super deep, right? But in this story, like all the characters are trying to look for this one magical sword. And there's this one character named Songmina, and she comes from noble bloodline. She wants to defy her father's orders, and she wants to sneak away with the general that she has a crush on to help find this like magical sword. But like I fell in love with that type of archetype because I really liked this idea that like she's this young, energetic, ambitious girl growing into a woman who wants to like go on an adventure. And so Sushang fits that archetype for me in Honkai Impact 3rd. Because when they first introduced her,
like
that like the look they give her, you could make the argument that it's not like particularly like unique, like it's kind of generic, quote unquote. But like in a way, I kind of like that. I like vanilla ice cream, so I'm like okay with this, right? But the way they introduced Sushang as like this person who was training to be a warrior, to be an elite warrior, even, and was given like a second chance at life because she was gravely injured, auto saved her, and then time skip because we got crowd freeze technology for whatever reason. Now she has to kind of like rediscover the world around her, right? And that changes her life completely. So like I really like that about her. So that's my impression. That's my like tangential way of saying like, hey, this is why she's one of my favorite characters in HI3.
Yeah, she has a really compelling setup, I think. Going from a character who's straight out of like a wuxia, martial arts like story, in like every single way, and then suddenly she's here in the modern world, like the fish out of water kind of situation.
I'm about to say something really cursed, but girl got isekai, but not really.
I know, right?
She really did though. She is like a reverse isekai character.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of ways we could like go about this conversation. First of all, I want to say I agree with what you had said earlier about kind of integrating her into the Honkai family, because she is such a like kind of she doesn't have the same type of origin that a lot of the other characters have, at least in the modern cast, right? And she's not like necessarily, she's not previous era, right? She's actually like current era, but like in the way past of the current era. So like that kind of messes things up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one rumor I want to ask about, because this always interested me about Sushang's origin. is that I've heard that she is actually a self-insert of a MiHoYo staff member. What do you know about this? Is this true?
Well, I know me and Mert have definitely seen rumors about that as well, but I don't think there is anything like sort of official that we could possibly grab from to really support
We looked.
that.
we looked.
You know, we looked, but you know, all I can say is that, you know, Jurunk, who's the concept artist for you know, Sushang and does all the visual novel portraits and things, you know, they definitely really like Susho because they've drawn Susho quite a bit on their Twitter account. So
yeah, I think if anything, whether or not it's a self-insert, I feel like I've read something about that, but we don't got any sources, so don't quote us on it.
Yeah.
but at the very least, Sushang is a character who was specifically designed by the artist of the Seven Swords visual novel. And then what did they do with her character? Like put her next to Otto, like in his most like I don't know, graceful form, I suppose.
Yeah,
Marty,
as the Raksha, right?
Marty, you could say snatched, okay?
Oh my
He was
God.
snatched. His soul was snatched.
okay, his soul was snatched, but also, like, look at his outfit. Like, oh my god.
Yeah,
Hello?
he's yeah. So that's what I can say about her design is that it definitely flows from the influences and vibes of the original artist. So definitely check out their Twitter, the official MiHoYo artist who worked on Sushang. I'm pretty sure that this artist still works for MiHoYo to this day. They make quite a lot of
they worked on Walt's concept design too, actually.
like the what is it, Fuhua Margrave? Is that the same person, or am I thinking?
Yeah. It's this. Hold up, I'm pretty sure. Question mark? Well, actually, no, maybe not Margrave. They worked on Idol.
They worked
Idol
on
Raven.
Senti's original.
Senti's.
Ooh, that's really
original
cool.
Stigs.
Yeah, so anyone who's seen those, they're very distinctive.
Oh,
so.
also, you know, Otto's funeral outfit. They also worked on that one. You know, the one with the white suit. Like, yeah. So they do quite a bunch of good concept work.
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
Contributes to Sushang's really distinctive silhouette to me. I think they're a very well designed character.
Oh yeah. I think like she's like super visually appealing, right?
Mm-hmm.
She really stands out. One other thing I wanted to mention. Well, one thing I wanted to ask was like, how do you guys find out about this stuff? Like, because I know that the English language information on HI3 can be pretty lacking compared to like, you know, the bigger sister games, but or the more popular games. But at the same time, it's also like in trying to research like Sushang's background, I because she's not one of like the main trio or like kind of even the main cast, so to speak, like it's pretty difficult to kind of find out little tidbits like that. And also it's also difficult to find out things like, oh, which artist worked on which concepts, which characters, etc., right? Like, how do you guys find stuff like that out?
For artists, you just have to be terminally online, like I am.
I see.
Because I don't know, I have like a very heavily curated TL, so a lot of the times I'll actually just run into the artist. That, or I'll go onto Bilibili and then like, you know, be like, oh wow, this artist's art style looks familiar. I wonder like what their stuff is, and then boom, Vine Boom, it's ETA, who works on literally all the fucking chibis for Honkai 3rd. And there's actually like I think it's their name's like Sylvia. They also work on concept designs for Honkai 3rd as well. I think it would be an interesting topic to talk about, but like only issue is that I don't know Chinese. So like
yeah, that's the hardest part. I wish I could like read Chinese, because like opening up my world to all of these, especially all this like talent that's coming out of China, and you know, of course MiHoYo is a Chinese company. Like there's so much of the information is in Chinese, and like Google translating is clearly not going to give us like the most accurate even impression of like what's going on, right?
Yeah, I definitely think like it is difficult to find this kind of information. That's just kind of the nature of it. So that's why it's important to, you know, share with others, and for findings that y'all have, put down twitter.com and we can all discuss it. Right?
And tag us, right?
all of the above, you know, like I think a Honkai has always been a game about like, you know, grassroots information gathering. So
right.
Every little bit of information that everyone finds, you know, that's what contributed to all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I found that other artist. I just looked through, and the one of the other ones that I've seen on Twitter is named Yuki. The only reason I know this is because they also work for Live 2D like thing. I think they just do concept design though, for the most part. But like I was just like, damn, imagine getting like a concept design from like a Honkai artist. That'd be so cool. Like, but yeah, those are like the only ones that I know that are at least on Twitter.com. There's like way more on like Bilibili and stuff that actually do post their whips and things and stuff.
By the way, I love how you always complete it by saying twitter.com, like as in it's...
I will always say twitter.com. You cannot make me say X, okay?
No, I mean
it's a habit. It's a habit.
Yeah, it's to the point.
Get it in a .com. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's funny to me.
Yeah, it's like me. It's like when I say twitch.television, right? Like,
yeah, it's like saying someone's full name.
Yeah. You're full naming Twitter every time, but no, I appreciate it. It is what it is, right? Do you guys want to go over a little bit about Sushang's lore? Because I know there's like a lot about her that kind of...
There's quite a lot to go over that isn't really well known, and we were just talking about full names, and so let's talk about her name, Li Sushang. People who know her from Star Rail, she doesn't have the Li part, but that comes from her father Li Shen, and then her mother Qin Suyi. Qin Suyi was one of the disciples of Fu Hua. So Fu Hua had 7 disciples. That's why they call them the 7 Swords. And Qin Suyi was the youngest of them. There were 7 in the Mount Taishuan sect, and this is information that's like in chapter 20 or 19 through 21 question mark. That's the Senti arc. It's also covered extensively during the 7 Swords visual novel. So first there's Lin Xiaoyu, who is the oldest. I'm gonna mess up these pronunciations. I'm not Chinese, all right? But Lin Xiaoyu is the oldest. You get to see her model during that story arc, so she might be the most familiar with most people. There's Su Mei, who is red-haired. She looks kind of like Himiko, but she's not. If you ever see a Himiko type character related to Fu Hua, it might not always be Himiko. There's the twins Wan Qi and Wan Ru. There's Cheng Lingshuang, who I'll come back to in a second. Cheng Lingshuang, they say, is the strongest of the group. And Ma Fema, who also is known as Yan Qing. For, once again, our star.
Right.
That name probably rings a bell. So his name got changed. So Fu Hua had these 7 disciples that she gathered together after the Book of Fushi Elf got deactivated, and she got the desire to start a martial arts school to teach them about the principles of blade mantra and the swara, which is a technique to channel Honkai energy. And so everything that they do, they're like magic sword stuff, and then the Edge of Taichuan attack, which you can see in like Second Eruption and in the Shattered Samsara stuff. It's basically just this crazy like martial arts technique to channel Honkai energy. And it's all like taking from the tropes of like wuxia, like martial arts, fantasy novels, and then putting it in like the Honkai universe, which I always thought was really interesting.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so you can learn all about like their journey during that story chapter. I think it does a pretty good job of giving like a whole overview of like what they meant to Fu Hua and like what her feelings were in reaction to her students. And so once again, spoiler alert, I assume if you're listening to this you've gone through all these story arcs, but the big spoiler alert is that like her disciples betrayed Fu Hua and assassinated her because she was like really dedicated to her mission of like no mercy for the corrupted, and one of the disciples was beginning to be infected by like Honkai infection, and so they put her down, and they would soon see Fu Hua's revenge, a storyline that was never covered. That was in the unfinished vision level. So that's like just a little bit about the Taishuan sect.
I see. Wait, when you say Fu Hua's revenge, do you mean Fu Hua taking revenge on her disciples, or do you mean the disciples?
they kind of like set up this whole story with the disciples. They're just like, so like I think 20 years or so pass, and then they're just living their lives. They've all grown up and stuff, and they're one of them is just like, hey, I went to go visit the master's a burial tomb, and her body's not there, and they're like, oh my gosh, the master's gonna take revenge on us. And so that's like what the whole conflict was getting set up to be during the Seven Swords visual novel. And then Sushang is just kind of like thrust into the middle of all this, but once again, like it never got resolved.
I see.
But you know, now that I talk about Sushang, let me talk about where she fits into all of this. So the youngest of the 7 disciples was Qin Suyi. Qin Suyi was the only one of the disciples to try to warn Fu Hua about the impending assassination, but for whatever reason, she was stopped and prevented from being able to say it to Fu Hua. And after Fu Hua's death, she lived with the guilt of participating in that or being associated with the other disciples, and so she lost the ability to use Blade Mantra. They say that her mind lake shattered or something like that, and so as a result, like Sushang's mom was no longer able to use Edge of Taishuan. So she had a daughter, Li Sushang, and then sent her to go train under one of the other disciples, Cheng Lingshuang. And at the age of 5, Sushang was already training to be a martial arts master. And she trained for 10 years. And then when she turned 15, she was set out into the world to go find her journey and to train. Dang. I think specifically she was looking for, she might have been searching for Phoenix, searching for Fu Hua, but actually before I get ahead of myself, that's because she Sushang, after she turns 15, she's out in the world, and then she runs into good old auto apocalypse.
Oh yeah.
Okay, one thing that I always found really funny about this scenario is that like all of this takes place in like a desert, kind of, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And just like they have to like walk through that stuff. I just wonder if you were to place these on like a map, like where they would be,
the Gobi Desert, maybe in like Mongolia, right. Okay, so Sushang runs into Auto Apocalypse in the middle of the desert while she's fighting some bandits, basically. And Auto was captured by these bandits. He's like, the most powerful man in the world at this time, on this journey to try to find Fu Hua or the Phoenix, because he's like, maybe the Phoenix has some like information to resurrecting Colin Kaslana. And so he's like, basically got nothing else to live for at this time. It's 50 years since the death of Colin. And then he gets captured by some bandits, not because like, they were able to like capture him. He let himself be captured. So like, that's the whole plot of things. And they're like, who is this like freaky guy who just like, let us go? And Auto Apocalypse during this whole story arc is called Raksha by Sushang and the others, because they find his name like really difficult to pronounce in Chinese. It's like I don't even want to try to pronounce it.
It's Luocha, right?
Well,
no. That's like a different version of Raksha.
Okay.
But, no, he's got like the way that you would say Auto Apocalypse is like very strange in Chinese.
Oh, okay.
So it's like kind of like foreign to Sushang's ears. So she's like, I'm just gonna call you this. And
I see.
From what I understand, I might be wrong, but like Raksha is some kind of like term they used for like, oh, this like European type guy. I think it might have something to do with like the etymology of like a Russian or something like that. but once again, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's kind of like how it all starts. And Sushang meets Auto Apocalypse in jail. In this bandit jail, and they instantly kind of spark up a connection. He's like, Auto Apocalypse during this time is like super like dour. He is not the guy that we know in modern times where he's like super confident and everything, he like has basically nothing else to live for. He looks like, a shadow of death, basically. He's been experimenting with the Abyss Flower to extend his lifespan, and it's caused him to like change his age, and his body is like all out of whack and stuff. And so it's very strange when Sushang finds him. She's just like, this guy doesn't look like he's doing too good. Actually, she doesn't even think that he's a guy originally. Otto's got like really long flowing hair and a long flowing dress. She's just like, wow, this woman is so beautiful.
Amazing.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. So then they get together on this journey because once again Otto like tells her, I'm looking for the celestial, I'm looking for the phoenix. And then Sushang's like, hey, like that's my grandmaster, like basically my grandma, like let's go find her.
That's crazy.
And so they start their journey. They fight off the bandit leader. Sushang is like fighting for her life. It's like actually kind of really impressive what they were able to do with the visual novel. It was that like going in a direction of like, oh, they're trying to experiment with the format. They have like little animations and like fight scenes and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not like an animation, but like they use like effects that they never used.
Like VN animations where like they have like slashes on the screen or whatever.
Yeah, and she has like a life or death conflict with like the bandit leader, which is pretty cool. And then they're off on their journey, and that's basically all the contents of like the first chapter of the visual novel. The second chapter of the visual novel is Sushang and Otto like making their way across the desert, and then they run into Yanqing, Ma Feima, who is like also on this journey to gather the rest of the 7 disciples because they're like terrified that the master is coming to like kill them and stuff. So they run into him, and he's like, I don't know, like if you've seen Yanqing in Star Rail, like he's always trying to fight people, right?
Yeah.
Always trying to prove himself. So the original Yanqing is like that too. He's like, all right, Sushang, let's fight, dude. Well, actually, no. Originally, what it is that they're both like riding like a cart or something, or like horses and stuff. And he like looks out, and then he sees like Otto, Apocalypse, and Sushang in like the cart to his left while they're going through the desert. And he's like, dude, I don't like this guy's vibes. And then he like looks closer, and then he's like, oh my gosh, like I think this guy is evil, like from the devil or something. And so he like jumps off of his horse, and he like goes for the kill shot immediately for like Autopocalypse. He's like on sight, like this guy's dead.
Yanqing representing the rest of the Honkai fandom.
Yeah. Like he got the bad vibes, the bad juju.
That's crazy.
So yeah, like Sushang tries to defend Otto, and like Ma Feima is stronger than her. Like he's her superior in every way, and so he defeats Sushang in her second battle ever. And then he goes to fight against Autopocalypse, and I think they come to basically a standstill. I might be wrong on all the details because it's been some time since I've read Seven Swords, but yeah, like the fight doesn't go well for them, and even Otto is like pushed to the edge. So Yanqing is a pretty talented dude. And then eventually like they all reconvene, and the 3 of them make their way to Sushang's master, Chengling Shuang, and they're able to like start determining everything that's going on. So let me talk a little bit just for a second about Chengling Shuang. She was, like I said before, the strongest of all of Fu Hua's disciples. She was the only one who was also able to use Edge of Taishuan Blade Eminence, which is like the attack that Kiana used in that
Shadow Samsara.
Shadow Samsara, yeah, thank you. And so she was like, really accomplished and everything. And after the assassination of Fu Hua, she went and exiled herself into the desert. When Sushang was brought to Chengling Shuang to train, Ling Shuang was just like, we're gonna be just like a martial arts school of only one, and it's just gonna be you, and we're gonna call ourselves the Wanderer's House. And so every time you hear Sushang, she introduces herself in like her trailer as like, I'm Li Sushang of Wanderer's House. She's like very proud to say it in the way that like a martial arts student will be like, yes, I've trained under this like dojo, this studio or whatever, right? So she's very proud to like talk about her heritage. She's like, I'm Li Sushang of the Wanderer's House. And that's basically who she trained from. Sushang was given a weapon called the Xuanyan sword. I don't know if I said that right, but the Xuanyan sword was a weapon forged from the Key of Dominance, the Legion Hersher from the previous era. There was like 1,000 copies of it or whatever. Fu Hua gave like copies of this weapons to all of her disciples. Fu Hua had like a version of the Xuanyan sword herself, which is like the Grips of Taishuan, if you know, like that divine key weapon.
Actually, didn't they show this in like the World Serpent manga or whatever, that they had like multiple copies of this?
Yeah. It's in some of the history stuff. You can see like a lot of the old moth soldiers have it. And so like, in this ancient, or at least the Middle Ages, like Chinese world, they're using like, divine keys and stuff. It's like very cool to me. So Sushang got her Xuanyan sword, like the big one that she summons when she uses her ultimate and everything. It was passed down to her from her mother. The basic form of the Xuanyan sword, which you can like get as like a gacha weapon, is basically its form before it's like been converted to a personalized weapon, And so Sushang, as she uses it in Star Rail, and as she uses it like at the very beginning of her journey in the visual novel, represents that she hasn't like made the weapon her own yet. Because it hasn't like transformed or anything, while some of the other disciples have like personalized Xuanyan swords. So that's just kind of an interesting detail for like her weaponry and everything there. So I think maybe there's one last topic I'll talk about, the visual novel real quickly. Just about like her relationship with Auto Apocalypse. Sushang talks a little bit about how Auto was her very first friend in the visual novel. Sushang basically from the age of 5 was doing nothing but training martial arts in the middle of the desert with just her master. So she knows nobody. When she goes to fight the bandits, she like is trying to be all cool and like trying to meet people in general and stuff. But when she talks to Otto, he's the very first person who's like there to sit there and listen to her and have like a friendly kind of relationship with her. And they have like a strange relationship in the beginning where she's like, oh, is he like a friend? Do I like have feelings for him? I like don't know. And obviously that never really develops into anything like at all. But she just like is a very sheltered person. And can you imagine your very first friend being Auto Apocalypse?
Oh my god.
At his very lowest. But you see, that's the thing, though, that makes their relationship really interesting to me, because Auto Apocalypse is at this point where he's got nothing else to fight for, other than like reviving Colin. There's nothing else in the world that matters to him. But then he makes a very genuine friend in Li Sushang, and I think that matters to him, like their relationship and like the time that they spent together. You see like snippets of it in the way that he talks to her in the Thus Spoke Apocalypse arc, and you see it in the cinematic of Thus Spoke Apocalypse, the way like he wanted to make sure that she was safe after her first duel with Fu Hua in like the cinematic and stuff like that. I mean, there's a whole lot of fragmentary information about her past, but that's basically like shows that he cared on some level about like their friendship, so which I find very interesting, like in the grand scheme of all of Honkai Impact.
I mean, and, he cared so much that he put her into cryostasis for like God knows how many years, like
right.
Yeah.
I mean, he still saved their life, right?
Yeah, she's the first S-rank Valkyrie,
Oh yeah, technically she is. I always call her the third because she's third after Durandal and Rita, but like she was the first one appointed.
For her. He saved the spot for her the whole time. Can you imagine that?
Exactly. And Otto, yeah, everyone loves to hate him. But he's clearly a much more complicated character. I mean, that's why he's such a like enjoyable villain in the story, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know how to cook, okay, when it comes to villains, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for all that background, because like I have a couple of questions though, because like what's still not clear to me is who like I know you had said like the disciples like turned against Fu Hua, but like was there, and it sounds like some of them were conflicted about it. Did they all actually band together to like assassinate her, or did like some go with it and some opposed it?
I think Chin Su Yi definitely opposed it, but she was too young to influence the others. The others, like there's the twins who were the catalyst of all of this. They were going to be like killed, or one of them was going to be killed by Fu Hua, so obviously they didn't want to die.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the disciples, I think, had to like come to this decision. I don't think they really completely go into like their motivations, but they were like conflicted the whole time, I think, about their relationship with the master. You know, for some of the disciples, if you remember in the Fu Hua arc, for some of the disciples, Fu Hua killed their parents, you know, and so some of them carried that like, you know, grudge for a very long time. You know?
Yeah, that actually, yeah, that makes more sense.
Killing someone's parents can do a lot to him. But...
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, another question I had was technically Sushang never actually met Fu Hua, right? Because by the time she was born, Fu Hua was technically dead.
Yes, yeah. So Sushang never knew her master because like her master had died before her birth. But she does meet her eventually at some point in what would have been the later chapters of the Seven Swords visual novel. I think they imply in the later story arcs, like during Finality arc, that Sushang and Fu Hua and Otto traveled together for some time. The resolution of all of this, just from the fragmentary evidence, is that at some point, I think Fu Hua was going Garuda. She was like going beast mode, and Sushang had to awaken her stigmata to fight Fu Hua, and that ended in like Sushang being really, really badly hurt, and that's why she was put in cryostasis for a long time.
I see.
Yeah, and then after that, in some way or another, like Otto makes the deal with Fu Hua that he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna protect the entire country of Xianzhou, or not Xianzhou, Shenzhou, from now on. I'm gonna protect all of Shenzhou from now on. Work for me, you know." And so that's kind of how it all fits together, but. Yeah, only very fragmentary evidence. But yeah, at the end of what would have been the Seven Swords visual novel, apparently Sushang becomes the very first Stigma awakened person.
Oh, wow. And how does it, like, this might be way too dank, like, HI3 lore, but like, how does that happen? Like, because I know a lot of, like, the Stigmata, like, lore was, like, touched upon in the later chapters, but, like, how like for like the layman, like how does someone's stigma get awakened?
Yeah, I it's like kind of very strange. Like stigmata is like a genetic thing, right? So maybe somewhere in Sushang's genes she's got it going on, you know, but like I think at the beginning of the Seven Swords visual novel, Sushang is not able to use the Edge of Taishuan. She hasn't mastered like being able to use Blade Eminence. But when we see her in Thus Spoke Apocalypse, she does know how to use it. And so my feeling is that like somewhere along the way, Sushang is able to finally master like the entire like blade mantra, the Swara training from Fu Hua, and like is able to use the Edge of Taishuan blade. And through doing that, she's like fully mastered her stigmata and then awakens, you know. But
okay,
who knows?
One thing that not like a note, but like I just thought about it right now, but like also wasn't there like when the did King Arthur like exist? Because like wasn't there like a whole thing in the manga as well that King Arthur
actually
had a
you know that's true, is that like in the London Holiday, I think it was, that's London Holiday manga where Kevin like blows up a bomb on the island of Britain and it like kills a bunch of people, and like King Arthur awakens as like a stigma person like during that whole thing. So I guess high exposure to Honkai energy can also cause a stigmata to awaken. You know, that's the whole like point of like the Arc City arc where they were gonna like blow up that bomb in Arc City.
It's like you know, we bombed a place before, we could do it again.
Oh my god.
Like with high exposure to Honkai energy, like 99% of people die, but 1% of people like awaken the stigmata. I think
The
that's
strongest
probably-
awaken, right?
Yeah, so that's probably what happened to Sushang.
Damn, that's like man. The more like once you mentioned King Arthur, I started getting like, oh, it's like Fate vibes, like Fate Grand Order.
Yeah,
definitely,
Let's bring all those legendary
they
heroes.
were
from
definitely
the
trying
past,
to go
right?
for that, okay? Especially after that last interview with like
Nasu.
Nasu, like shit.
True.
Yeah, they love Fate. So I think it's a love letter to Fate while still being its own thing.
If I learned anything about MiHoYo, it's that they're the founders and like the core people are all just like big fanboys, and
Absolutely.
they just really love incorporating, like anime that they grew up with, right? So
Yeah, they're making exactly the story that like they wanted to see. And
yeah,
that's my thought about like this whole Seven Sword stuff and all the Shenzhou like martial arts stuff. Like they're trying to take in all the things that they love from martial arts movies and fantasy stuff and bring it into their like techno world that like Honkai Third is. I think it's interesting for them to try to fit all of that in.
yeah,
it's
for
so
sure.
different from everything else.
The last gap or the last question I had about like Sushang's masters was like so when she was she wasn't under the tutelage of Cheng Ling Shuang until after Ma Fei Ma and Auto Apocalypse like found her, right?
No. She was training with Cheng Ling Shuang.
Oh, but Cheng Ling Shuang like
years.
exiled
but then
herself.
They found her again. They like went back to her basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like when you had
because-
originally said like her master, because like
her
she
master
still addresses
was exiled the
Fuhua's
whole
master.
time. Yeah. So
okay.
Cheng Ling Shuang was like exiled the whole time. She was like, I don't want anything to do with like whatever is going on in the martial arts world right now. I'm going out into the desert. Call me if you need me. And like the other, then Shin Suyi sends her daughter. She's like, hey, like, can you train my daughter? And she's like, all right, I'll do that. Like as like a favor to you because like we're cool like that.
Yeah.
And then Sushang goes out on her journey to go train, like on her own after 10 years of training under Ling Shuang. And then like when Otto's coming to her to look for directions, like they go back to her master to like get directions,
Okay, I'm just thinking about those scenes in anime whenever like there's like a white guy that comes up to like this like Japanese anime girl and just goes like, where's this train station?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's exactly what happened.
That's basically what happened. I think Otto's like, oh, my Chinese isn't very good. That's something.
Otto came from Europe, right? So
yeah. So that's basically all of her backstory. I mean, there's I don't know, not that much more information, but yeah, that's her backstory before she comes into the main story. It's
such a shame that like so much of her backstory is like you said, it's like fragmented and kind of you have to pick it up from outside of the game predominantly, right? Because like even though they go pretty hardcore into like Fuhua's arc, like at the end, Li Sushang is related, but she's not like she wasn't directly involved in a lot of like Fuhua's past, right?
Actually, that's the thing is that like in the in Fuhua's whole story arc, like Sushang is not mentioned once.
She shows up in Samsara for 20 frames.
20 frames. Yeah, you can see her for like very, very, very quickly. She's like shown in the slideshow of like all the people Fuhua knew during the Shattered Samsara cinematic, and that's the only time that Sushang shows up like at all in the Fuhua arc.
Damn. Hashtag justice for my girl Sushang.
Exactly. She's like a very unfinished type of character, and I thought
that's what it seems like.
Go over it during like the Phosphorus arc when like Fuhua was like out in space and stuff. I was like, oh, a Fuhua arc. Maybe they'll also talk about Sushang because like Sushang's one of the only people who also has stuff to do with Fuhua, and they didn't do any of that. So whatever.
Chilling on the moon.
Yeah. She's still walking,
what was
bro.
There was something I was trying to remember. All right, we'll probably get back to it, but
sure.
Do we want to talk about how I guess like Sushang of like current HI3 story, like now that she's actually in the story, like what is her actual role there, right? Now, of course, like when she was first introduced, I was like mega hyped because here she is finally as a playable Valkyrie. Even though the Star Rail beta kind of stole her thunder, because when they introduced Sushang as a playable character in Star Rail, we were like, I can't believe we got Star Rail Sushang before we got HI3 Sushang, right? Like she showed up as a boss.
At least
right?
revealed.
Yeah,
as
she's revealed. And yeah, she was playable.
Dude,
and
that was wild. That they just like waited a whole like not even a year. I'm pretty sure it was more than a year. Yeah. For Sushang to be playable.
Yeah, it was great. They had the model and everything, you know?
Yeah,
it was
people who were waiting for Vita, like Sushang fans had to wait for longer, okay? Raven fans even longer than that.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Raven fans, dude. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, like I remember Sushang being playable in HSR CVT2, but then we finally got the Jade Knight, right? Her animations are sick. Like I'm glad they clicked because they really spent their time to make her look cool as hell, right? So I'm really glad that they did do that. But obviously on her release patch, I think it was 6.0, right? Like flat 6, or was it 6.1? It was around that time. It was, 6.0 was Hershey Elysia, so it's probably 6.1. If I have the number wrong, please let us know in the comments. But when they released the Jade Knight, they accompanied the story. Well, they didn't really. I forget. Did they add new main story? They did, right? The moon.
Yeah, that was the first chapter of Moon Arc.
So the accompanying event was like the most. It was like the cutest shit ever, because it was like Boomer Sushang adjusts to modern day life, and goes on a date with her junior.
Yeah.
Momo, you want to talk about the event?
All I'm gonna say, damn these gay.
I thought like them pairing Sushang with Susanna was like totally out of left field. They were two characters who had absolutely nothing to do with each other,
right?
Like, in backstory lore or anything, but they have like really good chemistry, you know?
Yeah.
And that Susanna was someone who was just absolutely normal, right? And Sushang was basically like a superhero. It's fine, normal. Right? Well, like Susanna doesn't have like crazy superpowers like everybody else did, right?
Gotcha.
She was basically an average Schicksal Valkyrie at the time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think she was definitely the right person for Sushang to play off of. Right.
Yeah.
To have someone who is like down on the ground, like living everyday life and like working with people. That was exactly the kind of person that Sushang needed during that story arc, which I thought was like fantastic, you know, and they have just such a really great dynamic with each other. They're both cute girls just having some fun out in the city. They're both terrified of ghosts, which I thought was hilarious. That was so
super
good.
Cute.
You know, what was it, Momo, that Sushang says about like ghosts and versus monsters?
Yeah, she's just like, oh, a Honkai beast. I can actually fight those, but ghosts? Like, I can't do anything about that. Like,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. But I also noted just like, you know, this girl literally came from like a time where like, you know, ghosts and shit was like real to people. Like,
yeah, like you couldn't explain ghosts, right? Like at all. So, and that was like the incredibly cute part about that entire event. Like, even if you want to like, because you know how we're like never 100% sure if like the events are like semi-canon, not like kind of canon.
Yeah, that was the first one that was like, oh, this is a canon event, you know?
Right, because it actually like, because they're representing their characters like in the actual timeline, right? And so it was a nice like kind of semi slice of life, but they still wrote a really like heart-wrenching story into that event. I remember playing it on stream, and I was like, man, like this isn't even a main story. You guys are gonna make me cry. Like I can't believe this, right?
Yeah.
They should totally rerun it. They shouldn't be hiding these stories behind events.
Also,
but
like I don't know, like I also feel like dude, they reran that like Sushang or specifically Fall Girls like so many goddamn times already. But
okay, but that's because Fall Girls, you know, is like a fun multiplayer like bonanza, right? But like, but I was
The
glad that
story
they did
itself,
that.
Yeah,
And I
think
love
we
how
need
they
a story archive for events.
Yeah,
that are canonical.
I love how they integrated that though into like
Mhm.
the event itself, right?
Yeah,
Okay, but
because
where's
they
my,
did
you know,
I think.
where's the part 2?
Exactly. That's my thing. Where's part 2? Where's Sushang getting better at arcade games? Huh?
Yeah, just I do love like the whole thing about Sushang where she's like suddenly gets really into like playing video games and stuff, but she's like
Yeah.
just not good at it.
Yeah.
Compared to everybody else in the cast who I think are like exceptionally pretty good at video games. Like Sushang is like garbage at it, but she loves video games.
She's just like me for real. Every time I pop into Abyss and I get a score of 600, I just like close my eyes and
Actually, bottom of the leaderboard.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna talk about my ranking this week. It's so bad.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, that was like, and it was like also incorporated with semi, like I think it was like a Mid-Autumn Festival event as well.
Right.
And that's why you got the whole kind of like the celebration in the city, or like Sushang's desire to kind of like experience home again, because she's like so far removed from what she knew, and if you think about it, Sushang is still like kind of a teenage girl, right? Because
at
when
heart,
she was
right.
Yeah, when she was injured, she was still very young, and so she kind of lost out on kind of being a young woman, and then she gets time skipped, and it's like, well, guess I'll just keep being an S rank Valkyrie,
Yeah, I do think on some level there is some kind of sadness to that, of course.
Absolutely.
But I also want to talk about real quick, like at least my little headcanon about the relationships that Sushang had here.
Yeah, go for it.
For being someone out of time, like to me, like I want to go all the way back to when I talked about how Sushang was like friends with Otto, and that she considered Otto like her first friend. And if you think about the point at which Otto brought Sushang back into the world, it was like right in a situation where the world was about to turn into a good one, right, and a peaceful one. He set up, like everything that Otto did in the Thus Spoke Apocalypse arc set up the ending, like our happy ending and everything like that. And so he brought Sushang back into the world at this time when she would only be there to see the happy things, that's like kind of my feelings there, because to me it's like, Otto did care about Sushang and like where she would be and what her role would be. And I think he did take into account, like, is Sushang going to be lonely in a world like where she knows nobody, and then I'm going to be gone as her only friend. And so what did he do? He also, like, Otto specifically handpicked Susanna to be an aide to the S rank Valkyries, right? Like,
yeah.
I like, my theory is like on some level maybe Otto like picked Susanna because he knew that she would be a good match for Durandal and Rita, but also specifically Sushang. That's kind of my feeling. And of course,
dude.
Sushang coming back at a time that she did was at a time when Fu Hua had finally come to terms with her past, right? And so Sushang, and having her duel with Fu Hua, was able to finally release Fu Hua from like her 50,000 years of trauma, right?
Yeah.
And so her whole role in all of that, in like Fu Hua's reawakening, and then like her role during the finality arc where she's there to like help Durandal as the only other Stigma awakened person. Like, Sushang was really pivotal in like all of these things, like right at the time that she was needed. And then now that that's over, she's now in a peaceful world where she can just go explore and help people, and like the threat of Honkai is over. I think she's in a happier world, and that's my headcanon about the world that Otto wanted for the people that he cared about, because there's Sushang that he indirectly helped, right? Teresa that he helped, Fu Hua that he helped, Kiana, everybody like was all set up, in ways that they hated going through, but they got a happy ending in the end. So I think Sushang is a part of that puzzle.
Damn, Marty, you're gonna make me pour one out for Otto tonight.
I wouldn't be a podcast with me and Marty if we didn't sit for Otto just a little bit. Okay,
just a little bit. I mean, the whole thing here is that like Sushang is one of the only people who still remembers Otto as he was in that time, not the villainous man. She only knew him as he presented himself, right? As like just someone who was unimaginably tragic. Right.
Yeah.
Like she was not there for any of his great sins that he committed in the 500 years since. And so she has like this conversation with some of the other characters. She's like, y'all are like, doing all these things against the Raksha. Like, why do y'all hate him so much? Like, what did he do? And I think in some way he set her up for happiness because, she was the only person who remembered him for his character and not his deeds,
Yeah.
So it's like his tribute to her. So to me, Sushang is just this big bridge for everybody else.
I was gonna say that exactly.
Yeah, go ahead with your thought.
No, I was just gonna say that goes back to all the way to the beginning of the podcast when Momo said like she's like a bridge character for so much of the cast, right? Because she connects like 500 years ago to today, right? She even connects to like, well, maybe not previous era Fuhua, but she's bringing together so many of the other characters of the cast that she's like this kind of super important side character, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they managed to like fit her in to help quite a lot of other characters find themselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not that many, I'll be honest, but at least Fuhua and Susanna. Like Sushang is like an integral element in all of that, and I like Susanna, so I'll take anything that includes her as well.
And I also feel like when you play the main story that features more Sushang in it, she's always there as like a decent, like not like a foil necessarily, but kind of like a she's just a really good support character. Like she can act as sometimes like a neutral character, sometimes as comedic relief because she's always like well, Boomer Sushang doesn't know how to use a cell phone or whatever, right? But she always has that reflection, that poetic reflection in her where she'll say something from 500 years ago, but it's like it still rings true today, and it kind of like you kind of think about it and you go, oh, that's why we're doing what we're doing right now.
I will say, every time she has a reminiscence moment, I always hear like that music from Mount Taishuan every single time, and it just makes me laugh a little bit.
Yeah,
when it happens.
The
flute. I think she does a good job of bringing out, thoughts and conversations and growth from other characters. She's a really good side character in the sense that she doesn't really take away screen time from anybody else, but helps to bring out like the best in the rest of the cast. So. Yeah.
She asks good questions, even though they're like they're basic boomer questions, but that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, and especially in an arc like Project Stigma, she served as one of those useful people who's like, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, I'm just here to like swing my sword and be cool.
Because I'm gonna be honest, like, I very much enjoyed like the journey to Flame Scion, basically. Mm-hmm. And so after wrapping up like the Hersh of Domination arc, I was definitely ready for like, okay, like, we're setting ourselves up for the epic conclusion, right? But honestly, like, I am like not a fan of how like the Moon arc was kind of like written. Or executed.
The pacing's kind of rough.
Yeah,
I like
the pacing was pretty rough.
Personally, but I think it was difficult for everybody to go through.
Yeah.
I will say that I do like the conclusions of Moon Arc, but ultimately it's just like the pacing in between was like kind of,
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We got our happy ending.
Like read through like this like one JP person's article where they like reviewed all of Honkai Impact Third from like from part 1 to part 1.5, and then a bunch of all the other external material and stuff. And like they're just like, dude, what is up with this Moon Arc? There's so much like stuff. I'm confused.
I think they were trying to do quite a lot in the Moon Arc, and so their ambitions and their desires to wrap up everything and all the things that were interesting to them because they were doing a lot of studying about space and physics all those things came into conflict. So that's kind of
I think that's exactly it. It's because they wanted to wrap up everything or as much as they could, and that's where it gets messy, because anytime you kind of build up a universe this big, it's like super difficult to like
nailing the ending is hard. Know? Especially a big one. I think they did, at least a good job of making you feel things at the end. Right?
For sure.
I agree that all the feelings were there for the moments that they needed to be.
Yeah, of course I had like tears in my eyes at the end,
Yeah.
I'm glad I went through it.
On this whole topic of like the finality arc and how difficult it is, what I do think though is that there are quite a lot of really, really interesting ideas that are brought up in the story arc.
Right.
And like people always like complain about the poetry and the physics and stuff, and they're like, oh, this is all jargon. But to me, I do feel like they are put there intentionally, and we all are just like, all right, let us get through the plot so that we can like see how this all wraps up. Now that we've had time and perspective for the way the story goes, I think the whole story arc is something that we can go and like try to dig into like what those things meant, all of these physics references and all of the philosophy mumbo jumbo. Like I do think there is value that you can take out of reading that in detail, as you have time, right? So I think that's something that we still need to do as a community, because like I think it's easy for us to all say like, yeah, that was like rough, and a lot of people will say that sucked to go through, which is that like to me, there's ways we can be like, all right, let's try to make find something interesting out of this. So I think we can still do that.
Yeah, and like I do agree. I just think that like I think as I've played more MiHoYo games, and so like no shade on MiHoYo, but like and just gacha games in general, where they want to be very ambitious with their stories. I think like the execution within the confines of a video game just make it so difficult, right?
Yeah, I think they'll find their way.
Yeah, because some people are like super okay with the visual novel model, but other people really want like, let's just keep this a hack and slash, right? And there's always going to be that conflict, and of course you're never going to please everyone. But I do feel like that's where a lot of the problems arise, right? Is that like we want to write a really good story, and we want to reference a lot of things that are super important to us personally and historically. But how do we like combine that into the monstrosity that is known as a world-renowned gacha game, right? So
right, I think. And I'm sorry, I'm like talking quite a lot on this podcast, but
no, I'm glad you are.
No worries, like, bro.
My feelings are like, Honkai Third has always been a very experimental game in their library, right?
True.
They have tried throwing everything at the wall, and to me, like the Moon Arc was them saying, let's just put everything here. And was it executed in a way that made everybody happy? No, but they tried, And I think they've gotten a lot better at figuring out like, okay, this is what doesn't and does work, in the time since. They still have a whole lot of like yapping, reading impact, like that people go through later. But I think they've learned the balance a lot better, and it's showing in their future. To me, them being able to figure out like what does and doesn't work has to first come from making, decisions that were difficult, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
So that's kind of my feeling, is like at least they brought it into existence and were able to learn from it. And Honkai Third is ultimately like their testing ground for these kind of things, and that's what I love about it. Warts and all, like Honkai Third is always trying to blaze the way forward.
Yeah, and their dev team has like kind of stated it explicitly on their live streams before that. They do want to try new things, and that's actually one reason where I'm convinced that APHO 3 isn't really coming anytime soon, right? Because
they're cooking.
Yeah, because they're cooking. They said that like they couldn't just make an APHO 2 be like an exact continuation of APHO 1, right? Like they said they needed to bring something new to the table. So I do appreciate that they feel that way about the game in general. Whether it be the storytelling, the combat, the overall execution, and the direction of the game. Like I'm glad that they want to like keep moving forward, right?
Yeah. Okay, guys. APHO 3 in 2-3 years, guys. This is when HSR and in Honkai collide, dude. Like,
yeah. Hey, and to bring it all back to Sushang, since that's the topic, maybe we'll finally see Sushang, more matured in APHO3.
I was gonna say Sushang meeting Sushang in HSR.
Oh yeah, dude! Imagine.
That too. Real briefly, maybe we can say like about HSR Sushang. I do like that she basically is exactly like young Sushang. Their characters are very, very similar.
Yeah.
I like that they did that. Like in the whole cast of HSR, where they have all these Honkai third characters who are, they have like their differences. Like HSR Sushang, is one of the closest reflections to her original self, which is very
That's a good point, actually.
Fans,
Yeah, because most of the other XPs are pretty much like, hey, you're there, but like
what is a lot of the time.
Yeah, especially with a character like Acheron, right? Like the huge theory is like the what if, like different ending. But Star Rail Sushang does literally feel like younger Sushang, so like non-S rank Sushang, right? Yeah. And she's still
exactly the same.
Yeah, she's still, I'm not gonna say dumb, but she's still not studious, right? She'd rather just practice swordsmanship.
Yeah.
And she's ambitious, right? She wants to be like a good Cloud Knight, right? She does seek that approval. But yeah, obviously she has a completely different life in Star Rail, because instead of only having a friend in Auto Apocalypse, she's actually she seems pretty popular.
Yeah, she's surrounded by him.
In HSR. The only crime is that they made her a 4-star. But I get it.
She's a good 4-star. Okay.
Here's a good 4-star.
Here's the thing. Sushang is a very strong DPS, even as a 4-star in HSR, while our Honkai third one, who is S rank, is not a DPS. So if you wanted to use your Sushang in that kind of situation,
you can use her as a DPS. She's my ice support.
She's like kind of jank, right? It's like I definitely use her in like trio support teams and as like the pillar of my ice support team, but she's not like a DPS, right? So I do think it's interesting that they flipped her role in like the two games.
Right. But that's always going to be a problem in balancing a game versus its lore. And it doesn't feel like the greatest, but whatever, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I do hope, because Don Hung set the precedent for 4 stars could become 5 stars. Maybe training arc, maybe we can get a 5-star Sushang someday in Star Rail.
I mean, after the whole fiasco with main quest of the Shinjo Lufu,
maybe
they'll come back to it, because I actually really liked the ghost busting event. That was actually kind of fun.
I loved it. I mean, but I love Sushang and her girlfriend Gwenai Fun. I love the entire premise of let's go let's grab the scaredy cat Ten Lord, and then let's go to the most haunted place of the Luofu, and then Gwenai Fun's gonna stream it. It's just it's such a silly storyline, and I think that's another instance of yapping impact or Honkai Star yap.
That was the good kind to me. That was the good kind.
Yeah, it's cute event. when you're in the mood for it. It's great, but unfortunately, when I played it, I had just come back from my trip and I had COVID,
right.
So I was trying to rush through it to get the light cone.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
It is quite long.
It was very wordy, yeah. But that's stuff like that is super cute, because you're featuring a lot of characters that aren't as what would you call it, super important to the main storyline, but you're giving them an actual spotlight.
Yeah, Sushang got 2 events. Most characters don't even get 1.
True. So someone in the Star Rail team really likes Sushang, and I'm a fan.
I'm looking at you, drunk. I know what you are.
Yeah. as they should.
Speaking of Jurong, do you want to talk about Sushang's outfits in HI3 real quick?
Hell yeah!
Or just her outfits in general, or what we might be able to look forward to. Shout out to Ying, by the way, who collabed.
Yeah, dude,
we collabed with HI3 official.
Yeah, we ended up watching Ying's video before this, and I was just damn, there was certain points especially when Ying was talking about Jades and stuff, and how Sushang how she has like these like very shiny, techy looking like jades on her clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pretty sure there's like a good like 5. Actually, she even has like a jade ring on like her left side. If you're looking at her, and just like the whole thing of just like usually when people buy jade, it's so that well, first of all, it's new, and second of all, so that it like can kind of absorb your personality a little bit through said jade.
Yeah. The concept behind it is that it like absorbs your energy, so that's why people don't like to buy it secondhand, because they want it to like, truly be like theirs, right?
Yeah. And like I don't know, like I it did also bring some context into my own life, because like I'm mostly Cambodian, but like I do have that little bit of Chinese. I usually don't really count it, but like my mom, she like buys like jade for herself, and like I never really questioned it, but then like when Ying put out that video and I watched it, I was just like, oh, maybe that's why. So then I ended up asking my mom later, and she was like, oh yeah, and then she yaps about like certain Chinese customs and stuff to me, and I don't know, it was like a very nice like cultural experience.
Yeah, I find Ying very relatable, because the way I found out about her was through her Liya pronunciation guide video from long ago.
yeah, same.
And then I think her highest performing video is like the Duolingo challenge, right? And like, so I'm an American born Chinese, just like her, and so I relate to like the struggle. Like her Chinese is clearly like way better than anything I could muster up, but like the experiences she brings up in her videos are very relatable. And so when she kind of talked about how in the Sushang video, she talked about how like she went to her parents and kind of like did research together with them. Like that was like a really, like, I found that really sweet, and I thought it was like really cool to kind of get that knowledge about Ying as a creator, but also to get that information about Sushang's background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love the fact that Sushang's outfit is explained as like an East meets West thing, because it is designed by Shixel, but it incorporates so much of the Shenzhou, aka the Chinese like aesthetic, and that's something that like, especially as someone of Asian heritage living in the Western sphere, like you can really relate to that, right? Like the melding of culture.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's anytime I hear something like, oh, East meets West, it's like, oh yeah, like that's my family, right? So that's my lived experience.
The struggles of being of Asian diaspora.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But
we're all Asian here.
Yeah, I know, right? We're all Asian now. No, but so the cool thing about Sushang's like default outfit is that it is very representative of like that like Chinese aesthetic of like the white and blue porcelain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember at first I remember when they announced her as a Jade Knight, but then they kind of like showed her off as like this like very white and blue battle suit. I was like, wait a minute, isn't Jade green? But it is what it is, and she has a lot of jade decorations. It's just that's not like the super. That's not what like super stands out about her outfit, right?
I guess jade is blue jade.
I mean that too, right? But the next year they came out with Auspicious Dazzle, right? The like the Lunar New Year outfit.
Yeah.
I love that outfit. I was like, I'm buying this. Like,
if I had the V chips at the time, I would have bought it. But
no.
But
I bought it immediately as well.
I used my spending event one now, but like
that was a frame one purchase for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, same. Frame one, like immediately logging in the game, straight to the shop, redeem.
I mean, I just told you how much I love Sushang, so I had to.
I'm right there with you, brother. Like. They're just like, we're gonna give Sushang a new thing. I'm sold. I mean, I triple S'd her, not off the banner, but like as soon as I could, right? Mm-hmm. I full geared her. She was one of my. She's either my first or like my second like level 65 pre-arm.
Oh.
Yeah, I never take the game like very seriously, but for Sushang I do, right?
Yeah.
One character.
Okay, some like key things a part of her design that I like at least aesthetically, like First of all, she has like this like pinkish red, and like I don't know, just like the way that it's like, you know, transitions from like the pinks to like the darker like, you know, pink reds. I think like it's closer probably to maroon, or maybe a little bit more like hue shifted, but like I don't know, it's like such a nice look. And then like throughout her whole outfit, she has all of these like Chinese coins just like imprinted onto the dress and on the little like ribbons and tassels and things, and like I don't know, it's such a nice thing. And then like of course, you know, we have to talk about the bunnies, you know, that's like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like the little bunny shoes, you know, the little mochi bunny that's on the hat, like it's so cute. Like unironically, probably one of the best like Chinese New Year outfits. Also, she has like this little like I don't know what to call it. I think it's like a little like a it's like these circle cages. I legit don't know what to call these, but like I don't know. I think it's such like a nice design detail on the outfit. Like I've had to draw it before for like emotes and stuff, and just like oh, I don't know. I like it a lot. Like
No, I do too, and it's funny because like. Yeah, they modified the garter to be like the coin with the ropes. Not sure how I feel about that necessarily, but like MiHoYo loves their garters. They love their asymmetry as well, and so they actually gave her like black and white shoes that are like mismatched.
yeah.
At least they didn't give her like the long boot on one side, right? Which is like one of my like personal pet peeves.
Yeah.
But one thing I didn't mention about the original outfit is that her hair turns a shade of blue as it goes down, but in the Auspicious Dazzle version, it turns red. And my favorite color is red. The irony is that when I was younger, I used to like blue, but as I got older, I became partial to red. And so just seeing this whole like the Chinese New Year, the rabbit, because I'm a Year of the Rabbit kid. So and yeah, just this and Sushang, I'm just like, wow, you just like everything here
every note
is for me. So thank you. I'm eating well. I appreciate it.
You know, when's my Year of the Horse? Okay. Where's my horse soda? Okay.
We'll get an Ai-chan Chrono Navi horse outfit. How about that?
Hell yeah. Okay, dude, I'd be so down for that. Okay, Uma Musume Ai-chan.
Oh my
god. I'm just saying. Okay, and, you know, of course, Sushang did get a new outfit recently for this patch's thing. And I feel like with, like, you know, her base battlesuit, it's like a mix of, like, East and West. And then you go over to the Chinese New Year, super Chinese. And then here we are at the Midnight Moon outfit, which is, like, super Western.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And,
like,
yeah, I was gonna ask you, what origins do you think this outfit has?
I don't know, I feel like it probably stems around that era where, like,
it's
you know,
like turn of the century, like
turn of the century.
Kinda...
Yeah. Where like, you know, there's a bunch of like communications and shit going on between like, you know, Europe and like a bunch of Asian countries and shit around that time, you know? And just like, I'm pretty sure that's probably where they grabbed like inspiration from, but like, just like something I would like to note, this is a very minor detail and I only just noticed it now looking at the outfit, but this outfit has a sheen to it, and it's like, I don't know how to explain it. You see, like, I'm gonna have to show a picture for a podcast.
Parts that like light up.
Yeah, parts that like light up when you like turn the character around, and it's just like it's so interesting, like how they made this outfit. Also, like Sushang with the long dress is like also a little bit insane. I can only imagine like how much time it took to fucking like have to animate all that.
Get the clothing to work correctly.
Yeah, because like usually with like outfits that they do in Honkai, they try to keep it like similar like shape to like the base outfit a little bit, or like you know, less, because like, you know, having to wriggle that is like it's a pain. But just like the fact that
they put a lot of work into this one.
Yeah.
Was it the spending event outfit?
Yeah, this is a spending event.
That's right.
It's like it was like 30,000 crystals worth or something like that.
You know, we went from blue to red, and then you mix blue and red, you get purple.
And that's another thing I wanted to comment on, is that I love that for each Sushang outfit, the effects have been incredible. Like, I know we were talking earlier about like, hey, when are they gonna give us like a free Sushang outfit? But like, considering her animations are so beautiful, like with the brushstrokes, the glowing swords, and even when she summons Paishuan's edge, right? It's a different color in every outfit, and all her effects are like reskinned for each outfit.
Mhm.
So it's just like, damn, dude, like Sushang fans eating good, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's always good to be a Sushang fan. I love that, like, you know, originally her original design was yellow, but we still haven't gotten a yellow in main game.
We got it in Star Rail though. Got him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yellow Sushang in Star Rail, yellow Sushang original. We got blue, red, purple. We got to get a green one sometime.
Green Sushang. I like how we're like, it's like is it like the Among Us cast or like Mario Party or something? Like, just, yeah, give me all the colors of the rainbow, Sushang.
Okay. Another thing I would like to note is that a nice. I'm not sure if there's the same motif on the Chinese New Year outfit, but I noticed this on the new one that they have. There's like this like blade part that's on Sushang's like leg in her base outfit that she also has like on as like an ornament like on her dress, and she
doesn't even have
keeps,
a garter in the new one.
Yeah. Well,
unfortunate.
Like they kind of moved like the sword design to like something else, like as a little like ornament that's all like on her dress.
Oh, did they? Oh, I see in the front, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is cute.
Yeah, so they're still trying to keep these design motifs like you know, between outfits whenever possible.
I think nice. the one besides her hair always looking so great because she's got the purple tint and then they curl at the ends. But I think one of the most important parts of her outfit is the her right shoulder or her right arm overall. It has the I don't know what to call these exactly because it's not a cape, but like it's these
Are you talking about, like, the long ribbons.
Yeah, the long ribbons like that. It's very apparent in every version of her outfit.
Yeah, and they make it look fire every time.
Yeah, and they're all colored and detailed differently. Yeah, that's
this
fantastic.
just reminds me of like Mistel's outfits. But you know,
we
can talk about the character
that's a story
day.
For another day.
Yeah, and it's funny because I keep looking at this picture you've like sent to us with the glowing elements in her in the Midnight Moon outfit. It reminds me of when they first introduced Sushang with the dev commentary, and they said that like, oh, her battlesuit is like, you know, advanced sexual technology, right? I'm like, come on, man, she's an anime girl in like in a skimpy dress or whatever, right? But like that glowing thread is like very kind of like, it's meant to be lightweight, it's meant to help her combat abilities, it's meant to shield her from damage, yada yada yada, right? Like it's kind of like, yeah, we'll incorporate some like lore accurate details into the outfit, right? So I appreciate that.
Man, okay, there's like more design things that we could talk about, but I think we're starting to run out of time.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and close this out. I guess final thoughts. Let's do a quick roundtable. Peach, Momo,
yeah.
Do you want to tell me your final blurb on Sushang? Let us know what we need to know about our girl.
I just think Sushang is Pog. That's it.
Sushang Pog. Let's make all the emotes Sushang Pog.
Yeah, Sushang Pog.
All right, Marty, what about you?
I'll just say real quick that like I do think Sushang came in at a time when Honkai was like, all right, we're wrapping up everybody else's main stories. Let's like we need to grow our cast, you know, and they had the Flame Chasers, but then they didn't have the Flame Chasers. So you know, she was a very important part of them trying to bring in like the whole external world of like the visual novels and stuff, and grow the vision of like Honkai Impact, and like I said throughout this whole thing, Sushang is like a bridge to so many characters. So I was just very glad when they added her and made her so important to a lot of characters, and I just want to see her again, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother! I'm right there with you. My final word is Sushang is best girl. Fight me.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for being on this podcast, guys. This was very informative. I hope that all you listeners got to learn something new. about Best Girl Sushang today. How about we let everyone know where they can find us on the socials? Peach, let us know where you are.
I usually go by P3achsalt. I guess if you want to look me up on Instagram, I have an underscore right after everything. But like, you guys also might see my comics on the official page, if anything, because I also do those.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And me, MartyPCSR. Ooh, I messed up saying my own name. MartyPCSR. You'll find me at that name on twitter.com. There's that saying again. And you'll probably just see me post stuff to Hyperion Team all the time. You know, I'm a regular here.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much. And I was your host, Dave. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, twitch.television, my favorite live stream platform, under Dave, T3HDAVE. Thank you so much once again for joining us for this roundtable conversation about Lee Sushang. We'll catch you next time on the Captain on the Bridge podcast. Let's fight for all that's beautiful in the world.
Let's fight for all that's beautiful in the world. Bye.